We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
A very good afternoon and welcome to the Briefing PM, an hour of the latest political news, debate and analysis here on GB News. I'm Darren McCaffrey and here's what's coming up between now and 4. The race for number 10 is heating up. That's after last night's debate where Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss traded personal insults. Both are now refusing to take part in a debate tomorrow night that's been cancelled. We'll have the latest as MPs, Conservative MPs, prepare to vote in the next round of the Conservative leadership race. And the race for number 10 isn't the only thing that's heating up here in the UK, as temperatures are set to break records today and tomorrow. We'll be speaking to our reporter Jeff Moody, who is down in Bournemouth. And economists have said that whoever is elected leader of the Conservative Party will have room to make £60 billion in tax cuts. Will they? Should they? Is it a sensible thing at a time of rising inflation? We'll be getting a reaction to all of that. And as always, we want to hear what you've got to say on all of this. Who would you like to see succeed tonight in that membership vote among MPs? Do get in touch, gbviews at gbnews.uk, or tweet me at gbnews. We've got all that and so much more between now and 4 o'clock. But first, at the top of the hour, next news headlines with Rosie Wright.
A very good afternoon to you. It's coming up to 2 minutes past 3. I'm Rosie Wright, keeping you up to date on GB News. The Met Office says it's provisionally the hottest day on record in Wales, with temperatures hitting 35.3 degrees, beating the previous record of 35.2 recorded in 1990. A Met Office red extreme heat warning is in effect, as temperatures are forecast to hit up to 40 Celsius. Police have warned of the dangers of bathing in open water following the deaths of 2 teenagers who died after getting into difficulty in the River Tyne and Bray Lake. Schools in several counties, including Nottinghamshire and Hampshire, have closed or chose to finish early today. Cancellations have been announced on the rail network and some speed restrictions are in place. Meteorologist John Hammond told us of the telltale signs to look out for heat stroke.
It's confusion, it's dizziness, it's nausea, it's headaches, and it's obviously sweatiness. But those are the symptoms of heat stress. The worry is that heat stress can quickly progress into heat exhaustion, and when that happens, you actually stop sweating. So your mechanism for getting rid of heat from the body closes down, and then your body just gets hotter and hotter and hotter. That's heat stroke, and that can be incredibly serious, and you have to rush people to the hospital at very short notice at that point.
The heat waves across the continent. Authorities in Spain and Portugal say more than 1,000 people have been killed in high temperatures, which have lasted nearly a week. Firefighters are also battling wildfires in France and Greece. Conditions have been exacerbated by the dry, hot weather. In Spain, a firefighter has been killed whilst tackling a blaze in the northwestern province of Zamora, while a body of a farmer has been found in an area of scorched land. Political news in the UK now. In the field of candidates in the race to replace Boris Johnson as Conservative Party leader will be whittled down today as Tory MPs vote in the third secret ballot of the contest. Voting takes place between 5 and 7 this evening, with the result expected at 8. The candidate with the fewest votes will be eliminated. A third televised debate that was due to take place tomorrow night between the remaining candidates has been cancelled because Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss have declined to take part. Sky News have been due to host it. Well, they say Conservative MPs have said to be concerned about the damage the debates are doing to the image of the party. The Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, says he's surprised that any of the contenders would miss an opportunity to prove themselves.
I'm astonished that those that want to be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom are pulling out of debates and out of scrutiny. I can see, based on what I've seen in the debates so far, why they want to do so, because this is a party that is out of ideas, out of purpose. They're tearing each other apart. But as I say, pulling out of a TV debate when you want to be Prime Minister doesn't show very much confidence.
Well, speaking of confidence, the government is facing a confidence vote in Parliament today amid calls for Boris Johnson to leave Number 10 immediately. If the government is defeated, it would almost certainly trigger a general election. However, this is unlikely. A significant number of Conservative MPs would have to vote against the government or abstain from voting. Unusually, it's taking place as a government motion rather than the opposition's. It's after the government refused to accept the original wording of Labour's vote of no confidence motion. Russia's state energy company Gazprom has declared force majeure on gas supplies to Europe. It says extraordinary circumstances are preventing it from fulfilling its obligations. A trading source has told the Reuters news agency it refers to the Nord Stream pipeline, which delivers gas to Germany. The supply was turned off last week for routine maintenance and was due to resume on Thursday. The head of Ukraine's spy agency and the top state prosecutor have been suspended while an investigation takes place after it came to light that dozens of people in their organisations were found to be collaborating with Russia. President Volodymyr Zelensky said they had to take responsibility for more than 650 cases of treason which have been opened against their staff. He said more than 60 people from both departments are now working against Ukraine in Russia-occupied territories. A Conservative police and crime commissioner has been banned from driving for 6 months for repeatedly speeding. Caroline Henry was caught breaking a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit 5 times in 12 weeks. She was elected as Nottinghamshire's police and crime commissioner in May 2021 and had pledged to crack down on speeding. European bison have been introduced into woods in Kent, where their ancestors used to roam. It's hoped they're going to restore the woods and make them more resilient to climate change with their natural behaviour, grazing, felling trees, eating bark and taking dust baths. This is GB News. I'll bring you more as it happens. Now let's head back to the briefing with Darren.
Thank you very much indeed, Rosie. It is coming up to 7 minutes past 3 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. We're on TV, online and indeed on your wireless radio. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Now, contenders for the Tory leadership will be whittled down to just 4 today as MPs cast their votes in the third round of the contest to find a successor to Boris Johnson. The remaining candidates were involved in a series of bad-tempered exchanges in the latest TV debate last night as they battle for a place in the runoff and when the ballot of party members became even bitter. The former Chancellor Rishi Sunak, who topped both 2 ballots, clashed with the International Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt and the Foreign Secretary Liz Truss on the economy. And the former Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch and Tom Tugendhat, who finished 4th and 5th respectively in the latest ballot, are battling to avoid elimination. Squared over who has the record and experience to be Prime Minister. Well, did I say joining me now is a man who's held that job, the former leader of the Conservative Party, Sir Ian Duncan-Smith, who joins me from Parliament. Sir Ian, as always, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Just first of all, what do you make of this decision by both Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss to pull out of tomorrow's debate. Do you think it was sensible, given the clearly deep divisions that were on the show yesterday?
Well, I was always in doubt about the television debates. I mean, I thought that it's not the same as Prime Minister versus Leader of the Opposition, or even another party as well, where you have very distinct differences between you, and therefore, they can get quite fierce, but legitimately fierce in the run to an election. This is an internal contest to decide which of a group of Conservatives should end up as Prime Minister. So, bearing in mind that everyone's got to work together afterwards, it's probably not a bad idea to try and at least maintain a certain amount of semblance of unity, which is very difficult when you're in a contest in front of the camera. So we saw a bit of that last night. There were clashes. To be fair, I think so far they are at least proper debates about the issue. I think everybody in that panel understands and agrees the importance of reducing the burden of taxation, which is at an all-time highs. Well, not an all-time, but certainly since the last World War. So the question is when and how will you do it, which was really the clash last night. So I thought actually it was, in a way, good for the public to understand the nature of the argument. But the problem is always if you get too personal. So I guess it was probably right for them to say two's enough, easily enough. Maybe one was enough, and we don't need them again, because they've got to go to the country after this. So there's little or no point in doing this. And the cameras will follow them around and film their debates with each other as they travel around the country, whoever they are.
Yeah, indeed. Almost their every move over the next couple of months. In saying that, we know, and you're backing Liz Truss, and there is this kind of big policy divide on clearly taxation and the economy between him and the former Chancellor Rishi Sunak. But in many ways, it has got a bit more than a bit personal, actually, hasn't it? And we saw that with that exchange yesterday about Rishi Sunak, about her being a Lib Dem, and her talking about his school in Winchester, and Penny Mordaunt's clearly faced an awful lot of briefing against her, clearly from within other people's campaigns. It has got a bit bitter and a bit personal, hasn't it?
Well, these things do. I mean, it's a rough trade, politics at times. In a way, the public expects people to set their stall out and to be prepared to defend it. So to that degree, I think it's reasonably normal. I mean, I was thinking back the other day, I've been here for 7 leadership contests. I have managed 2, one successfully for Prime Minister, one unsuccessfully, and I stood myself as Leader of Opposition and won. So I have some sense of this, and I do recall that they can get pretty heated, because it's the direction of a government, a party, and ultimately the country are big things to want to put your feet into, as it were. And I think it's important, therefore, to people understand who you are. So in a way, people got to see these candidates a bit better. But I would say enough's enough now. So I am in agreement that they don't need any more of this, because they've already shown what they want to show, and I think that's good enough.
Partly about policy, isn't it? And clearly Liz Truss has got a very distinct policy when it comes to taxation, and that will win votes among some of your colleagues on that who want to see the tax burden lowered. But politics is, frankly, we can't get away from this, about presentation as well. And there is a sense that, looking at the Snap polls, that Liz Truss isn't necessarily the most charismatic person in the world, maybe a bit stilted, a bit wooden. Do you think that's a real Achilles heel?
No, not at all. In fact, if you look at the polls of party members, she is one of 2 that they want to see in the final round. Interestingly, not Rishi Sunak, ironically. It was, in fact, Kemi Badenoch. So the party members, which is where we're going to, is the critical. So the truth in life is always win the contest you're in, not the one that comes after it. You've got time to go and win that. And that's what's called governing, people to see who you are. I happen to think that Liz Truss has the capacity to be a Prime Minister. I think, remember, this is not for a leadership. This is for a Prime Minister. And what we've got here is a decision to take of people who have experience, have done things. We need to know what they've done, what they've been successful at. I thought Liz actually was the standout yesterday, in a way, because she was very up on her toes, as it were, dealing with Rishi Sunak and others over their debates. I thought she was very good. But the reality is she's got to go to the MPs right now, then she goes to the members. It's only when we get to a general election, and that hopefully won't be for a good 2 years, we've got a lot to do, then in that time of the next 2 years is her time, or anyone's time, to show themselves in what they do so that people can respect them. I always say you want the public to respect you, not to love you. You can fall out of love, but with respect, you accept that people are doing the right thing for the right reasons, and that's the important feature. And I believe, genuinely, as people get to know her better, they will see what I've seen, which is she has real grit, and when she wants to do something, she does it.
OK, fascinating stuff. Serene, as always, thank you very much indeed. We'll see how it all falls out and plays out over the coming days. Thank you, Ian Duncan-Smith, the former Conservative leader. Let's go from him to another part of Westminster, to inside Parliament. Buckhaller's House, Conservative MP Damien Green, who's backing Tom Tugendhat, joins us live there. Thank you, Damien, for joining us. We've just heard from Tom in the last half an hour or so, suggesting that he feels he is going to kind of fall out of this race tonight. Is that your sense?
Well, we'll see. The one thing we know about Tory leadership races is that they're very unpredictable. We all know the figures from the last ballot, but I'm very, very happy to continue backing Tom. I think he's the best candidate in the race. I think he's shown that both in debates and in the various hustings that we've had privately among MPs. And I'm looking forward to voting for him once again.
No, he has said he's not naive about what's going to happen tonight, and he's not going to quit because he wants the other candidates to be given a further opportunity to make their case. So, I mean, he's expecting clearly not to survive this evening. Why do you think that is? Why? I mean, let's be honest about this. I mean, even if he does survive tonight, he's almost certainly not going to get in the final two. But why is his message, I mean, you're one of his big campaigners and backers, why has his message not as resonated as much with Conservative MPs as clearly it has with others?
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask my colleagues that. It resonates with me. And I think, I mean, the one bit of Ian's interview I sort of took issue with was when he said you shouldn't think of the following contest. Actually, I think every MP, and indeed all the party members when we get to that stage, should think about the appeal of the new leader, new Prime Minister will have to the wider electorate, because there'll be a general election in 2 years' time. And in a lot of the polling, although Tom has always been an outsider for all the obvious reasons that he's not a member of the cabinet, that he is very, very popular, particularly with floating voters. On some of the websites like Mumsnet, he's come top among all the candidates. And that, I think, should give my colleagues pause as they vote this evening to think, actually, how serious are we about winning the next election?
You say that, and undoubtedly, he has done very well in those debates, at least in the minds of the people that were polled in all of that. But what is the ambition now for Tom Tugendhat, in the sense that he's not going to become the leader of the Conservative Party? That seems clear, at least to him and to the rest of us this afternoon. Is he hoping to draw on his now kind of much higher profile to get a job within cabinets, or to kind of carry on campaigning from the backbenches?
Well, that's not why we're running this campaign. As I say, we've all done it because we think Tom it would make an extremely good leader and Prime Minister. And frankly, what happens with cabinet distributions will be for the new leader. So as of now, this afternoon, what I'm campaigning for is for Tom to get as many votes as possible in the vote in a couple of hours' time.
So what are you saying then to MPs? What are you saying to your colleagues to try and convince them in the next couple of hours at the last minute to back Tom? What's your case?
That's a very fair question. And our case is simply sort of look beyond this place, look out there, look at all the voters we're going to need either to win back the trust of, because clearly trust is a huge issue, and particularly floating voters or people who maybe voted Conservative last time and didn't vote next time. They all like Tom. They've only really been introduced to Tom over the past few days, and they all like him. And so we're inviting colleagues to look at the world outside Westminster and actually respond to that, rather than to some of the normal shenanigans you get in a leadership contest.
Very finally, Damien, because I know you need to rush off, just in terms of the TV debate tomorrow night and the sense that this debate has got a bit personal and a bit bitter and is doing the Conservative Party damage. What are your views on that? Are you disappointed that the debate has been cancelled, or do you think for the betterment of the Conservative Party it's possibly better that all this kind of dirty laundry's not been kind of shown in public?
It was never quite clear to me why everyone had agreed to 3 debates at this stage. There is clearly a case for when we get out to the country where the party will be organising hustings for the members, that even then some of them won't be able to get there, so actually having a TV debate between the last 2 is extremely sensible. But one, or if we'd said we'll have 1 or maybe even 2 TV debates at this MP stage, I don't think anyone would have said, no, that's unfair, you must have a 3rd. So I don't particularly mourn the lack of the 3rd. It was true, as you were saying when you were talking to Ian, that particularly last night's debate got fairly feisty and fairly near the bone, and I think everyone has taken the sensible view of let's step back and calm things down and keep it civilised.
OK, Damien, as always, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Absolute pleasure. Damien Green there, joining us live from inside Parliament. Thank you. Well, speaking about TV debates, many people say the one winner from those debates has actually been the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, though he's been talking about the fact that Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak have declined to take part in the one planned tomorrow night. Let's have a listen to what the Labour leader had to say a little earlier today.
I'm astonished that those that want to be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom are pulling out of debates and out of scrutiny. I can see, based on what I've seen in debates so far, why they want to do so, because this is a party that is out of ideas, out of purpose. They're tearing each other apart. And I think the millions of people, particularly with the heatwave today, they'll be saying, I want a government that's focused on the day job, that's getting on with resilience for today and tomorrow, for however long this heatwave goes on, and focused on the cost of living crisis. Instead, we've got fantasy economics. But as I say, pulling out of a TV debate when you want to be Prime Minister doesn't show very much confidence.
Despite the divisions within the Conservative Party, they are going to win the vote of confidence tonight, aren't they? What's the point?
Well, the Prime Minister has put down this vote of confidence in himself and his government. And you've got this extraordinary situation. In the debate last night, I think all of the candidates to be Prime Minister said, would you have the current Prime Minister in your cabinet? And none of them said they would. Tonight, he's asking them to go into voting lobbies to vote confidence in him continuing as Prime Minister. So this is getting farcical. And you've got a government that's been propped up for months and months and months, is like to be propped up again this afternoon in that debate.
Indeed, and we'll have coverage of that debate, that confidence debate in Parliament throughout the afternoon. The vote expected at 10 p.m. Tonight, though we are expecting, of course, the government to win. Do get in touch, by the way, GBViews at gbnews.uk. Listening to Ian Duncan-Smith there, and indeed to Damien Green. What are your thoughts on the 3rd round of this contest tonight? Do get in touch, or you can tweet me at GBViews. OK, we're going to take a quick break here on GB News. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, talking about Monday meltdown, not about politics, but actually about record temperatures across the UK. We're going to be live in Bournemouth. Plus, we'll have continuing coverage ahead of the 3rd round of the Conservative leadership vote. That in just a couple of minutes. But first, let's bring you up to date with the all-important weather. And it's hot now, and my word, it's going to get hotter. Here's the details from the Met Office.
Hello again, I'm Aidan McGivern from the Met Office. The heat that we're expecting on Monday night and Tuesday is very far from typical summer hot spell kind of weather. This is unprecedented, record-breaking heat. It's come up from the south and temperatures have risen during Monday. A very hot day widely. Tuesday is going to be significantly hotter in many places, and there's little cool down overnight. On Monday night, some cloud into the north and the west, some showers into the northwest of Scotland, where it will be cooler, but across much of the night, temperatures remaining in virtually all of the UK, high teens, low 20s, and in some spots, mid-20s. So the fact that we've had that heat build up through the day, and then very difficult to cool down overnight, very difficult to get fresh air into people's homes, and of course our homes aren't built to cool down. Well, that's what makes this heat so concerning. Temperatures shooting up then on Tuesday with peaks of mid to high 30s widely from southern Scotland into much of England and Wales, and 40 or 41 Celsius is possible from London to Lincolnshire. Exceptional, record-breaking levels of heat, which are likely to cause impacts to people's health and to the UK's infrastructure, given the fact that they are so far above anything we've experienced previously. There is an area of showers that will move in from the west and then push into eastern parts of England, southern Scotland during Tuesday night. And for the start of Wednesday, well, a bit more comfortable. Most places 17 to 19 Celsius. Having seen those showers go through, we've got cooler air arriving for Wednesday. There'll be some sunshine for the start of Wednesday. Early showers in the east of Scotland, perhaps turning into longer spells of rain here. 1 or 2 showers for the west of Scotland, Northern Ireland, but also some showers and some heavy thunderstorms possibly in the south of England. It will stay hot in the east of England on Wednesday, much cooler elsewhere, and all places by Thursday.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Join me, Darren Grimes, for Real Britain every Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m. A news hour that comes with a trigger warning. Scorching hot opinion with prominent guests saying the unsayable and a little bit of weekend fun thrown in. Unlike other broadcasters, I won't be forgetting what the B in our name stands for. So howie in for Real Britain Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m.
Hello, I'm Patrick Christie's.
And I'm Mercy Moroki.
Make sure that you join us Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. until midday, right here on GB News for To The Point.
We're not afraid to talk about the topics that matter to you or the big topics that always matter.
We cover absolutely everything, from the breaking political stories of the day to law and order, what's going on in the channel. We're not afraid to hold people to account.
We always make sure we include your views on our show.
Indeed, if you're thinking it, you can guarantee that we're saying it. So make sure you join the conversation with us, 10 a.m. until midday, Monday to Thursday, for To The Point on GB News.
Very welcome back to the briefing here on GB News. Let's go back straight to Westminster and join our political correspondent Tom Harwood, who is in Portcullis House for us this afternoon, where MPs gather daily to discuss politics and indeed, of course, the third round of the Conservative leadership race. Tom, what are you hearing there? We're going to get the vote later on tonight. Tom Tugendhat seems to be suggesting he's not naive enough to think that he's not going to crash out this evening.
That's certainly right. Tom Tugendhat slid back 5 votes in the second round compared to his showing in the first round. And despite what was widely considered to be a pretty good debate performance on both nights of those television debates on Channel 4 and on ITV, it seems that there is a wide expectation that he may well actually even go down a little lower, just building that gap between the 30-odd, 34 votes that he was on last time, all the way up to 120 to make it through to the final 2 does seem like a task that might go too far. But he wanted to stay through this to make his case, although I think widely the expectation is in this place that he will be the likely person to go out this evening, I should say. We're getting those results at around 8 p.m. And we're just coming up to 3:30 now. That means that the 1922 committee hustings, those private hustings of those 5 candidates, are winding to a close, and then voting starts at around 6 p.m. But in the meantime, before all of that, we're going to see the start of a different sort of debate, a different sort of voting, and that is indeed on the confidence within Her Majesty's government, of the confidence of Parliament in Her Majesty's government. That debate kicks off at around 4:30 today, with the Prime Minister leading a bit of a valedictory speech of his time in government, sort of summing up all that he has done in the last 3 or so years that he has been Prime Minister. That will be where our focus turns to. That's the public goings-on in this place. And then, of course, as that goes on, MPs will be slinking off to the committee corridor to cast their votes in this ballot. And I suppose the big question will be, is who is the big beneficiary of the Suella Braverman votes? Suella Braverman is the person who went out at the last round, in round 2, and she's someone who's seen to be on the right of the party, someone who's seen to be on the really quite hardline Brexiteer wing of the party. She was, of course, a so-called Spartan, one of those people who voted not once, not twice, but 3 times against the various iterations of Theresa May's Brexit deals. And she is someone who herself has endorsed Liz Truss. The question is, her support, the 30-odd MPs who backed her, do they lean mainly towards Liz Truss, or do they lean mainly towards Kemi Badenoch, the 2 sort of candidates of the right in this election? Or might there be even slippage to other candidates? Might Rishi Sunak be able to pick up some votes from Suella Braverman? I suppose this will be the very interesting Kremlinology and everything else that we need to do in terms of looking in terms of where those votes are going, who has the momentum, who can be seen to be the candidate of the centre, and who can be seen to be the candidate of the right. When I spoke to Suella Braverman last week, just after she got knocked out of the second round of this process, she said that she saw both Rishi Sunak and Penny Mordaunt as candidates of the left, and that she saw Liz Truss and Kemi Badenoch as candidates of the right. Assuming that Tom Tugendhat may well not make it through the round today, the question is, who becomes the standard bearer for each half of the party on those issues?
Fascinating stuff, Tom, and you'll be across it, as will I, later on when that voting starts. Thank you, as always, Tom Harwood there, joining us live from inside Parliament, inside the belly of the beast. Now, let's turn to the weather. The Met Office, in the last 30 minutes, have issued their hourly update on the top temperatures. At the moment, it is 37.5 degrees in Kew Gardens in southwest London. It is 37.1 degrees in Cambridgeshire. Let's go to Bournemouth, though, and speak to our GB News reporter, Jeff Moody, who is there for us on Bournemouth Beach this afternoon. Jeff, very good afternoon to you. It is hot and it is getting hotter. How is Bournemouth coping?
Oh, really well, actually, to be honest. We've just hit 30 degrees, so it's positively Arctic compared to some of the temperatures being reported across the country. Well, the Met Office has said, look, this sort of weather, nice weather, here in Britain, we're used to making the most of it and going out to play. They're saying this isn't that sort of weather. The best thing to do is to stay put where you are. Don't head down to the beach. I'm not sure the people in Bournemouth have got that memo, to be honest. They're heading right the way down to the beach now. The beers are flowing too. And thank you very much, lovely. And the government is saying, look, stay indoors. That's the most sensible thing to do. People here are saying, no, we're out and about. The government's calling it a national emergency. People in Bournemouth are saying, we've got a name for it. It's called summer. Speaking to people this morning, they're saying, look, we're used to this in this country. We're used to all sorts of weather conditions. If it's raining, we carry on doing what we're doing. If it's sunny, we carry on doing what we're doing. We're British. But there's nothing British about this weather. It's hotter than it is in the Bahamas. It's hotter than it is in the Sahara. It's hotter than the middle of central Athens. That's how hot it is. And the Met Office is saying, look, we're not scaremongering, as somebody has just accused me of doing. What we're doing is we're warning you, because actually these conditions can be quite severe. I suffered from heat stroke 2 or 3 years ago on Brighton Beach, and it's it's serious. It's not just a bit of sunburn. It's actually quite serious. I ended up in hospital with it. So people are saying, look, enjoy it, make the most of it, but seriously be careful. Stay home if you can, drink plenty of water, and make sure you put that sunscreen on at all times.
Indeed. Solid advice, Jeff. Thank you very much indeed. Jeff Moody there joining us from Bournemouth Beach, and reports coming this afternoon that it is so hot that the RAF are stopping planes taking off at Brize Norton because the runway has melted. That's how hot it is in northwest of London. Those figures, those temperatures, expected to be even higher tomorrow, that the UK record could be broken. OK, we're going to pause there on the briefing on Monday Meltdown. We're going to be talking lots more about politics between now and 4, but first, and a little after 3:30, let's bring you up to date with the news, and back to Rosie again with the headlines.
Good afternoon, it's 3:33. I'm Rosie Wright, keeping you up to date. The Met Office says it's provisionally the hottest day on record in Wales, with temperatures hitting 35.3 degrees, beating the previous record of 35.2 in 1990. A Met Office red extreme heat warning is in effect, as temperatures are forecast to hit up to 40 Celsius. Police have warned of the dangers of bathing in open water to keep cool after the body of a 13-year-old boy was found in the River Tyne. Schools in several counties, including Nottinghamshire and Hampshire, were closed today or have decided to finish early. Cancellations have been announced on the rail network and some speed restrictions are in place. The heatwaves across the continent, authorities in Spain and Portugal say more than 1,000 people have been killed in the high temperatures, which have lasted nearly a week. Firefighters in France and Greece are also battling wildfires, which have been exacerbated by dry conditions. In the UK, the field of candidates in the race to replace Boris Johnson as Conservative Party leader will be whittled down again as Tory MPs vote in the third secret ballot of the contest. The candidate with the fewest votes will be eliminated. We should know who that is at around 8 o'clock. A third televised debate between the candidates that was due to take place tomorrow has been cancelled because Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss have declined to take part. Sky News have been due to host it. They say Conservative MPs are said to be concerned about the damage the debates are doing to the image of the party. A Conservative police and crime commissioner has been banned from driving for 6 months for repeatedly speeding. Caroline Henry was caught breaking a 30-mile-per limit 5 times in 12 weeks. She was elected as Nottinghamshire's Police and Crime Commissioner in May 21 and had pledged to crack down on speeding. TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound is 1.200 to the dollar. The pound is 1.180 to the euro. The price of gold currently stands at £1,289.72 per ounce.
Direct Bullion sponsors the Finance Report on GB News for gold and silver investment.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go? Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Very welcome back to the briefing here on GB News. It is 22 minutes to 4 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. We're on TV, online and on your wireless radio. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Well, it's been a decisive week in the Tory leadership race, with MPs voting for a third time later on today as they select their final candidates to become the next leader and, of course, our next Prime Minister. The list of contenders will be down to 4, with the result expected at 8 p.m. Now, significantly, the third TV debate that was scheduled to be broadcast by Sky News tomorrow has been cancelled. It comes after Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak said they would not take part. Joining me now live from Westminster is Robert Haywood, the Tory peer and polling expert. As always, thank you for joining us. First of all, your thoughts as we go into this third round this evening. What's your kind of your thought about where we're at in terms of this leadership race? I mean, frankly, it's been pretty unpredictable, and no one's quite certain who's going to end up in the final two.
No, I think you've got it right there. There is a degree of unpredictability. Everything has been compressed, obviously, to ensure that we're down to the final two by the time Parliament goes into recess on Thursday. So what we've seen up to now is a campaign on steroids and possibly some abuse on the similar steroids. But we're getting close to the conclusion for the party membership to vote thereafter.
It's fascinating, this race, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, at the moment, the candidates are simply, or should be simply, appealing to MPs. They also need to appeal to the membership. And it's also clear some of the candidates are trying to appeal to the general public, who, frankly, of course, don't have a vote in this.
Yes, they are, and I think it's right that they should message the general public and the Tory party membership, even though it's only Tory MPs who have a vote at this stage. I don't get a vote until it goes out to the party membership, even though we're in a two-chamber parliament. So it is right, it should be an open discussion, but it shouldn't have actually got down to the points of abuse and criticism at times that it has. And therefore I understand why the withdrawal has taken place, and therefore there won't be a further debate tomorrow night.
In saying that, looking at and looking back at the leadership contests we've had in the past, does this one feel particularly acrimonious, particularly between some of the candidates involved in the personal attacks, the briefings against Penny Mordaunt? How do you view this in the context of the leadership challenges or contests we've seen in the past?
I think, as I indicated just now, it has been more brutal than previously, but that is in part because of the compressed timetable. Having said that, what we haven't had is what I'd describe as a Michael Gove moment when he ditched Boris Johnson in a previous election campaign, which was probably the most brutal action that I've witnessed in any of the leadership campaigns in recent years.
Indeed, Michael Gove, who of course no longer in the cabinet. Revenge best served cold, as some might suggest. Just in terms of how we're expecting things to play out, though, in the coming days, what are your kind of expert predictions? Where do you think we're going to end up, if I can put you on the spot?
Well, I'll give you half an expert prediction, and that is that I'm convinced that Rishi Sunak will be one of the two candidates. The other one, it's between Liz Truss and Penny Mordaunt. I think currently it's advantage Liz Truss because of the negative publicity which has been the case against Penny. But there is, as was being said just now, a degree of unpredictability about the voting. I know that Kemi, for example, has been going after previous MPs who've previously voted for Liz Truss because it is generally felt that Kemi's done better in the debates than Liz Truss. Now, whether that comes to fruition, we'll know around 8 o'clock or not. But there is a degree of flexibility which we've probably not seen in campaigns previously. Previously, there's been very marked dividing lines between the left and the right. On this occasion, one of the striking things is how some people from what one would regard as the left or the right have been willing to cross that divide or those divides to support somebody which one might deem as somewhat surprising in the circumstances.
And isn't it fascinating to a large degree that politics is not just about policy, and we have got a genuine big policy divide between kind of the top two candidates, if you like, on taxation and the economy, i.e. Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. But it's also about presentation, and they're very different presentational characters, aren't they? I mean, the words associated with Rishi Sunak are slick, those associated with Liz Truss are wooden.
I think that's fair in both cases. Those are the words that have been applied. I think one of the things that Rishi has managed to achieve in the two debates in particular that we've seen publicly, and has been indicated, there have been private hustings going on as well. But in those two very public hustings, Rishi has come across not only as slick, but confident and erudite. Whether you agree with him or not's another matter, but he has managed to convey that message, whereas Liz Truss has had this difficulty, certainly on Friday and possibly to a lesser extent last night. She was heavily described as wooden and therefore did take a fair amount of a battering as a result of her performance on Friday.
Just very finally, though, I mean, one thing I would suggest is that, you know, Rishi's had a reasonably easy ride so far. I mean, he's got a lot of baggage in regards to the non-don status of his wife, the green card. Many people feel that he betrayed the Prime Minister. Suggestions that he wants to change the economy, though he's been in charge for the last 2 years. And also, frankly, that, you know, he also broke the law in number 10, maybe inadvertently, but he did break the law. Do you feel he's had a bit of an easy ride thus far?
I'm not sure, after watching him last night take the questions of three of the other candidates, that he would say that he's had an easy ride. Every candidate has things that they have to defend, and there are things that haven't been gone into in great detail. But I'm not sure that he had an easy ride last night by any stretch of imagination.
Fascinating stuff. We're going to get that result around 8 p.m. Tonight. Lord Robert Hayward, thank you very much indeed for joining us there live inside Parliament this afternoon.
Thank you.
Well, let's turn to that big debate that's taking place within the Conservative Party, of course, about taxation and the economy, because some economists seem to be suggesting that the next Prime Minister will have the financial headroom to unlock 60 billion quid of tax cuts for households and businesses struggling amid surging inflation. Costs are rising, of course, and they combine with the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Sunak's freezes to income tax thresholds, means that workers are now paying more additional tax than had been expected. It comes, of course, at the same time that we've seen national insurance rise for most taxpayers. Joining me now is Darwin Friend. He's a political analyst from the Taxpayers Alliance. Darwin, good afternoon to you. So 60 billion quid, we're told, that the Treasury has in terms of headroom. How has that come about?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on the show. So the Centre for Economic and Business Research has found that because of higher tax receipts, that there's actually going to be more going into the Treasury than first was forecast. And so they've estimated that £60 billion is going to be there in fiscal headroom. And that's on top of the £30 billion that the government already acknowledges that it has in fiscal headroom. So altogether, that's £90 billion. And the CEBR have also said that that's not unreasonable to be used on tax cuts. And I agree with them. And in fact, I don't think they go far enough, really, because with fiscal headroom of that size, they can afford to cut taxes, boost growth, and deliver more money in people's pockets.
Another thing, though, actually, to bring down our debt, which is soaring, along with higher interest rates, means that that is only going to get higher. Isn't the most sensible thing, actually, to pay some of that off, given the amount of money we've borrowed over the last 2 years?
Well, I completely agree with you. And if you did what the Taxpayers Alliance suggested, which is to double the income tax cut and also cut VAT to 17.5%, that comes to around about £29 billion in lost revenues for the Treasury. Now, that leaves a huge amount then still left from that fiscal headroom to be used on cutting the debt. And I completely agree with you that action has to be taken. I think our debt is around about 2.3 trillion right now, and debt interest alone this year is set to be 83.3 billion pounds. So it's quite right for the government to do a dual approach, in my opinion. It can cut taxes and it can cut debt. That's not an either or.
Who are you backing then in this race? Because it sounds like you want Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak to win.
Well, we don't have a particular candidate or party that we choose. All we want is a fair deal for taxpayers. And so whoever that is in power will be calling for them to tackle, yes, debt, but also tackle the tax burden, which is at a 70-year high at the moment. And we're going through a cost of living crisis. So I would urge whoever wins to really curb down the costs that taxpayers across the country are facing right now.
OK, Darwin, as always, appreciate your time and your thoughts this afternoon. Darwin Friend there from the Taxpayers Alliance. Thank you for joining us. Well, let's turn to what the polls are saying about all of this. Polls amongst Conservative members, but also among the general public. Let's talk to Chris Curtis, who joins us down the line. Chris, as always, thank you for joining us. First of all, we've seen some snap polls, haven't we, carried out in the wake of the leadership debates. What have they told us about the mood of the general public when it comes to the 5 remaining candidates?
I wouldn't say some snap polls, Darren. I'd say one snap poll, which was the opinion poll that was done after last night's debate on ITV News among the leadership candidates. But basically what we've been seeing is 2 candidates that have risen to the top of the field, at least when it comes to who voters out there in the country like, who, of course, won't be deciding the next Prime Minister. But when it comes to who they like, Rishi Sunak, Tom Tugendhat, they're their 2 favourites. So Tom Tugendhat is seen as the one who's particularly sort of more trustworthy, maybe a little bit different from what we've seen before with Boris Johnson. Rishi Sunak is particularly seen as competent and the kind of person who would be most trusted to run the economy.
In saying that, of course, the general public don't have a say in this. It is a very small selectorate, if you like, of the Conservative Party members. Have we got any details about where they are in all of this, or even just how representative they are of the general population?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make a quick point to say that the reason we're doing research among the general public is because, at Opinion, we do think it's important that their voice is also heard as part of this debate, right? They're not going to be deciding, but I think when members decide and when MPs are deciding who to vote for this evening, it is also important that they're considering, who's going to be most appealing to voters out there in the country as well. When it comes to where members currently are, what I would say is it's an incredibly fluid situation. We have seen polling from Conservative Home over the weekend, which shows the order generally as Kemi Badenoch, followed by Liz Truss, followed by Rishi Sunak, followed by Penny Mordaunt. That seems to be where the order is now. But that's completely different to the sort of order they were getting the week before that, which is completely different to the order that they were getting a week before that. So it's clear that the membership is pretty in flux at the moment, haven't completely made up their minds. And whoever goes through to the final 2 on the ballot paper, I still think this is a race that could go either way.
Because ultimately, isn't it, that it's the don't knows in many ways who are winning some of these votes. I saw Penny Mordaunt put a tweet out this afternoon in which she was gleeful she'd finished joint second in a poll along with the don't knows. I mean, it's fair to say, forget about the general public, even some Conservative members don't know who these candidates are.
Well, but it's not necessarily that they don't know where. Part of it's many of them won't know who they are, but part of it's that they probably don't feel like they've heard enough yet to know what these candidates stand for and what their political views are. But usually by this stage in the leadership race, you have a pretty good idea of who's going to win. That's what we saw in 2019, right? By this point, we knew Boris Johnson was going to win the leadership contest. It was just a matter of how we ended up getting there. And of course, he ended up going on to do so. This is the first time I can really remember where we've had a leadership race go on for this long. And it's still incredibly messy and difficult to work out who's going to end up going on to win. And I think it sort of is this big question for the Conservative Party. What kind of direction do they want to set for themselves? And at the moment, they're not really sure.
Really, really fascinating stuff. Just very quickly, can I put you on the spot and ask you who your money's on?
Rishi Sunak. At this moment, I think the most likely outcome is Rishi Sunak wins.
OK, well, we will hold you to that, Chris. We will hold you to that and have you back again when we get the result. I'm sure we'll be talking to you an awful lot between now and September. Thank you, as always. Chris Curtis there joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers, Chris. Thank you. GB Views, by the way, gbnews.uk. We'll get a couple of those in before the end of the programme, but delighted to say, sat next to me, is Colin Brazier. Monday afternoon, it is 37 degrees Celsius outside.
37.5.
37.5. Dressed on Monday.
Can I show the viewer what's happening downstairs?
No, I don't think we should.
Yeah.
No. I think you could smell it. It's smelly vision, you could smell it.
Can I just say what Chris was saying about
Yes.
there not being volatility in the polls? What about the Cameron year, when everybody was saying it was David Davis? Cameron did a speech without notes and suddenly was flavour of the month. I left for a wedding on Wednesday in Italy, and I left saying, it's Penny Mordaunt. She's won it, hasn't she? That YouGov poll had her way out ahead, and I thought I'd come back and this would be a non-story.
Yeah.
It was a shoo-in. It was done for.
Yeah, there was proper momentum.
And
that was peak Penny, though, we reckon.
Well, it was. Well, we now realise it was peak Penny. And it's incredibly volatile.
It is.
They're even exciting.
What is also interesting is in 1997, 2001 and 2005 is the person who topped the MPs' votes actually didn't win. It was the person who finished second who won.
The membership don't like to be told
Indeed.
how to vote.
Indeed. What's coming up from 4?
We've got Boris Johnson at the dispatch box. No confidence vote, that weird one where he sort of tabled a no confidence vote in his own government because Labour tabled one that was in him personally.
Which is also not going to go anywhere, we don't think, anyway.
It's a bit of a non-event, apart from this, Darren, that it is potentially the last time Boris Johnson and Keir Starmer square up across the dispatch box. Hey, the voting in the leadership election starts at 5.
Yes, I know.
Quite a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, so we'll reflect that too. And the volatility. You're right, we need to get into the volatility, don't we, a little bit?
It's really fascinating, really fascinating. And we're expecting that result, I think, around 8 p.m. Tonight, which will be interesting. Colin,
I wasn't mentioning that. I want the viewer to think that 5 o'clock is the moment.
No, but they can sit through it all. Which many of them will, I'm sure. Colin, thank you. We'll be joining you in just over 5 minutes' time. As I say, a lot of you have been getting in touch. Daryl says that the Tory leadership race is farcical. The powers that be have already decided who wants to get in, and that this is a farcical debate that we're seeing play out. David says, I don't think Keir Starmer has any reason to comment. He's just made a statement about what his MP should be doing, but in fact, they should be standing up to the RMT. Truss says the question that was asked regarding Boris Johnson and potentially a job for the other candidates within government, do you remember during that debate last night, was a stupid question. How many ex-prime ministers have gone back into government after leaving office under another one? Raquel says that it's clear to me that none of the candidates are a patch on Boris. My vote lies with the millions of people who backed him, not necessarily the party itself. And Robert says, thank heavens for the news media, otherwise I would be enjoying this glorious sunshine instead of sheltering miserably indoors. Colonel Jones in charge, as always. Do always get in touch, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Well, that is it from me for this afternoon. I say we will have continuing coverage, particularly of the conclusion of that third round of the Conservative vote later on this afternoon. Do not miss that. Colin Brazier is up next. I'm back at 3 tomorrow afternoon. And we'll leave you with the latest weather forecast. Looks like record temperatures could be broken in the day ahead. Here's the details from the Met Office.
Hello again, I'm Aidan McKiven from the Met Office. The heat that we're expecting on Monday night and Tuesday is very far from typical summer hot spell kind of weather. This is unprecedented, record-breaking heat. It's come up from the south and temperatures have risen during Monday. A very hot day widely. Tuesday is going to be significantly hotter in many places, and there's little cool down overnight. On Monday night, some cloud into the north and the west, some showers into the northwest of Scotland, where it will be cooler, but across much of the night, temperatures remaining in virtually all of the UK, high teens, low 20s, and in some spots, mid-20s. So the fact that we've had that heat build up through the day and then very difficult to cool down overnight, very difficult to get fresh air into people's homes, and of course our homes aren't built to cool down. Well, that's what makes this heat so concerning. Temperatures shooting up then on Tuesday with peaks of mid to high 30s widely from southern Scotland into much of England and Wales, and 40 or 41 Celsius is possible from London to Lincolnshire. Exceptional, record-breaking levels of heat which are likely to cause impacts to people's health and to the UK's infrastructure, given the fact that they are so far above anything we've experienced previously. There is an area of showers that will move in from the west and then push into eastern parts of England, southern Scotland during Tuesday night. And for the start of Wednesday, well, a bit more comfortable. Most places 17 to 19 Celsius. Having seen those showers go through, we've got cooler air arriving for Wednesday. There'll be some sunshine for the start of Wednesday. Early showers in the east of Scotland, perhaps turning into longer spells of rain here. 1 or 2 showers for the west of Scotland, Northern Ireland, but also some showers and some heavy thunderstorms possibly in the south of England. It will stay hot in the east of England on Wednesday, much cooler elsewhere, and all places by Thursday.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions,